Sir Taylor, there's a particularly unique feature of your course which you call Errata. Perhaps you can explain a little bit about that and how it works.
Be glad to, Chris, because it is something that parents and children get a bit confused about sometimes because they haven't had experience of something like it. Errata are mistakes, and these are deliberate mistakes that I have made, and it's part of the children's job to find them and let me know which ones they think are my deliberate mistakes. And the purpose of that is to help the children to become confident in their own reasoning, because for a child of 9 or 10 years old to turn around to me as the writer of the course and say you're wrong, that takes some confidence, and I'm trying to instill that confidence in the children. And of course, for them to be able to tell me, oh, Sir Taylor, these were your mistakes, not mine, they also have to be very good at checking their own work. And of course, that's an essential skill to have in order to do well in 11+. So the purposes of the Errata are to help the children become very good at self-checking and to become confident in their reasoning. So that's the purpose of it, and I found over the years that it's been a very effective strategy for teaching them those things. Now, the way it works is this. There's certain work that the children have to complete at home. Now, this is exercises and additional practice. Now, those sheets are marked by parents using answers that I have provided. And of course, within those answers, I provided 10 deliberately wrong answers. So when the parents use my answers to mark their children's exercises and additional practice, they'll find that they're marking things wrong, which were not necessarily wrong. Now, once parents have marked the children's work, the children then go through and do their corrections, as they must to all their work, of course, and they'll find that some of the things that have been marked wrong, the children are fairly confident that actually they've done it correctly, however it has been marked wrong, and therefore it's likely that this is one of the errata. And then what they do, the children, is they have a separate sheet where they complete all the errata, indicating on which sheet and which question they believe that I have put a wrong answer, and then they will indicate what they believe to be the correct answer. And that's actually part of their homework, which is then checked by the tutor to see have they correctly identified the errata that were there. And that's the way the errata works. But sometimes there's confusion about, which sheets do we use in order to complete the errata? Do we mark it using these answers? Or if they've got it right, shall we mark it right? And such questions, and that causes confusion about errata. So what I'll do is I'll show how to complete the errata sheet for session 7 of the course a little later. Okay, the first thing is that in every lesson there's a set of yellow sheets like this which give answers for parents. On the sheet itself it says which session number these answers relate to. So these sheets are all for session 7. All the other sheets given in session 7 will also say session 7 on them. Now, this sheet contains answers for things that parents are supposed to mark. So in this case, there's a mental arithmetic exercise, MAX, for session 7, and these are the answers that parents are to use to mark the sheet. This sheet here is the exercise that children are to complete, session 7, mental arithmetic exercise. Now, I've done 3 rows from here just to demonstrate what parents should do and what children should do regarding errata for session 7. So, imagine that your child has completed this sheet. First of all, I would like to point out that children should put the date on all their sheets and that they should complete their sheets in pencil, not pen. However, when parents mark, they can mark in pencil if they wish, but I'm going to use red pen to mark with. So what I do is I go to the session 7 MAX answers, session 7 MAX answers, and I mark according to the provided answers. So here we go, for 12, this is the row, and I'm going to use that row to mark. So we have 24, 48, 96, 120, 240, 60, 132. So there's a mistake here. And then there's 108. Marking the second row in the same way, we've got 30. It says 50, but I've put 60. Then there's 120, 150, 300, 75, 165, 135. Now, I haven't completed the rest of it, but I'll go down to row 11, question 11, 41. That's times 2 is 82, times 4 is 164, 328, 430, so I marked that wrong, 820, 205, 451, 369. So now the parent has marked the sheet and the parent's job for the time being is complete. Now what happens is that the pupil will go back and do the corrections to this sheet. So now if I become the pupil again and use pencil for my corrections, then I go to the first row and I say, oh, this one's been marked wrong. So then I double check my own answer. I put 72 first time around. Then I double check it and I say, okay, 12 times 11. So I should do 12 times by 10, which would be 120, and then add on another 12, which would be 132. So I know that this was my mistake. So I now correct this and I say that is, I think it's now 132. So I've corrected that mistake. Then on the next row, I see that for 15 times 4, I put 60 and it's been marked wrong. So I say 15 times 4. So I should double 15, which is 30, and double that again, which is 60. So I'm very confident that 15 times 4 really is 60. So I'm thinking this might be one of the errata. So I'm just putting an E for myself because I believe this is one of the errata. In the same way, I continue and complete the rest of my corrections. And then when I get down to here, same thing again, I find one of them's been marked wrong. Now, 41 times 10 is definitely 410. That doesn't require much skill. So there's not much chance that I've made a mistake here. So I'm fairly confident that my answer is correct and that if the answer on the sheet is different, then that is one of the errata. So far from this sheet, I think I've identified 2 of the errata. Now, I will check on here that the answers given are different from the ones that I thought. So question 2, 15 times 4, question 2, 15 times 4, the sheet says 50. And I think the correct answer is 60. And then for question 11, which was 41 times 10, I think it's 410, but the sheet says 430. So now I'm very confident that I've identified 2 incorrect answers on the provided answers sheet. So what I do is I go to the errata sheet, which is this. This is a homework sheet. I call it study test. So here again, it's clearly labeled session 7, errata study test. And the sheet that I'm working on is session 7, mental arithmetic exercise. And in fact, one of the errata that I have identified is in question 2, 15 times 4, which I think is 60. And here it says question 2, 15 times 4, incorrect answer provided 50, which it is. And the correct answer 60. Now, this is given on the children's sheet as an example of how they're supposed to complete the errata. So in fact, this one I've put onto the sheet, or rather I didn't need to put on the sheet because it was already there. However, the other one, which was question 11, 41 times 10, so I'll put it here, question 11, 41 times 10, and the incorrect answer provided, I need to look at the answers to find that. So 41 times by 10, the incorrect answer provided is 430. So I put that in that column. But my answer is 410. So I'm putting it in this answer, correct answer, 410. And that is how I would complete the errata. Now, session 7, VAP, most similar in meaning. Now, I've marked the answers which I think are correct, and I'm now going to mark them using the provided answers for that work. So here we are. These are session 7 verbal additional practice, most similar in meaning. These are the provided answers. So I'm going to mark my work using the provided answers, just as the parents should each week. So question 4, jump and walk. Well, I thought it was slip and slide, so I have to mark that wrong because the sheet says jump and walk. Question 5, shove and push. And question 12, sand and seaside. Okay, so according to these answers, I've made 3 mistakes. Now, I go back as the pupil to correct my work, and I think, okay, slip. We're looking for a word similar in meaning. Slip, slide does mean similar, walk does not, and ice does not mean similar to slip. Jump, slide, walk, and ice. There's nothing here that means similar to jump. Push, slide, walk, and ice. There's nothing there that means similar to push. So I'm confident that the only sensible answer to this question is slip and slide. So I believe that this is one of the errata. I think that the answer on the sheet is wrong and that my answer is the best answer. Then I go to question 8, which was my next apparent mistake. So I think I got all of this right, and the 3 questions that were marked wrong were all mistakes on the answer sheet. So I go to the errata study test sheet and I indicate that my findings on here. So I think that for session 7 verbal additional practice, most similar in meaning, the first mistake was in question 4, and that the incorrect answer provided was jump and walk. So I will write here jump and walk, and I believe the correct answer is slip and slide. So I write here slip and slide. And then there is another exercise here where my findings can be indicated on here, and there, that is how children should complete errata. So the parent's only role is to mark the work in accordance with the provided answers, and the rest of it is down to the children.
And this is something that's very unique to you. I've never heard of this before.
Well, it is unique to me, and it came about really, I suppose it had an evolution that inevitably there are mistakes in any piece of work that's anything longer than, being very short. So mistakes were there in some of the course materials and some of the answers I provided to parents, and many times parents would come to me and say, oh, I think there's a mistake in this answer, can you just confirm that? And then I would go back and confirm it and so on. And I thought, well, actually this can be a very useful thing for the children's learning, that if I put in some mistakes deliberately, then that can be a really great part of their training. So I brought it in really in response to parents pointing out mistakes that were not deliberate. And then I thought, well, okay, if I put in mistakes deliberately, that can really enhance the children's learning. And I found that to be the case, that it's been very effective.
So effectively, it helps the children learn to check their work and build confidence in their own judgment rather than just trusting what somebody else tells them.
Yeah, exactly that. And when they're sitting in the 11 plus exam room, they are going to be on their own. And they cannot do it by rote, because the exams that will be in the question are not the questions in the exam will not be questions they've seen before, but the reasoning they have to do, and they have to do it quickly and confidently. That's going to be what they learn in the course. So really the course is not rote learning. It is about giving the children a good framework for their reasoning, making sure they know all the rules that they need to know and procedures, but most of all that they're confident in their reasoning and that they're able to show that in the exam.
And if you'd like to find out more about the courses available, or just have some questions about the 11 Plus, then give Sir Taylor or one of his colleagues a call on the number provided through the Contact Us button.